So it's Wednesday, 11:30 a.m., and I'm parked right across the street from the Piccolo Motel. I was waiting for my wife, with whom I had lived for 3.5 years, to show up. As I found out, she was scheduled to meet Glenn Eversham in room 145 at noon today. Glenn was one of her former high school buddies, and a guy I know pretty well. In fact, Glenn was one of my friends until recently. But isn't that how things like this happen so often? Glenn was Ellie's first true love. Allie was supposed to be my wife, wasn't she? She and Glenn dated all through high school. He was the one who took her cherry after prom. Yeah, I was part of the crowd the night he told that story. I remember him bragging about how he got her. He had a big Chrysler 4x4 truck with a long bed in the extended cab. He kept blankets and other miscellaneous sundries either in the back seat or in the bed itself. Old Glenn was always ready. Yeah, that bastard told us all about how he did it. He told us one night after we all finished work. It was the summer right after we graduated from high school. I can hear him like it was yesterday. He said, "Dudes, I got her after prom. She changed her prom dress at her cousin's house. She was wearing a black Harley-Davidson t-shirt and a pair of incredibly short cropped jeans. Yes, she was pretty, long brown hair all curled up and down her back, big green eyes, eyelashes that stretched for miles, nice little breasts, and a tight ass. I told her we were going to Jed Nelson's after-prom party, but I wanted to stop for a few minutes first. I told her there was something I wanted to tell her. I kind of hinted that I was going to ask her to marry me. She was already all emotional, so it was easy to slip a few pellets of ecstasy pills into her beer. Within minutes, she was ready to rock and roll. I pulled down her jeans. Man, she was beautiful. Then she sat on the blanket and cried. She didn't say anything. She was just crying. Finally, she looked at me and asked me what I was going to say. I had forgotten, so I told her I had signed up for the Navy and would be leaving at the end of next week. I asked her to wait for me. She stopped crying and told me she would think about it. After that, I took her home, kissed her goodnight, and left. We never made it to Jed's party. Oh, I remembered him telling us his silly story. I was there, hanging out on the edge like I always did. It broke my heart to hear it. Glenn, Ellie, and I, we all grew up together. We all went to the same grammar school, elementary, and middle school. Glenn was an American to everyone. He had charm, money, athletic ability, and of course, the attention of all the girls. The funny thing is, he never really accomplished anything. He played for the soccer team but was fired. He went to basketball, got cut there too. He tried baseball but couldn't hit. He always had a reason. In soccer, the coach was a jerk. In basketball, the smaller guys were always elbowing him. And in baseball, he said, the umpires were always idiots. Nevertheless, he always got the girls. He was voted prom king in our graduating class, and he was voted in the yearbook as the guy most likely to be remembered. I played a little bit of sports, too. Oh, my name is Wyatt Templeton. Yeah, I went to soccer, made the team. I skipped basketball, but I made the volleyball team, and I played on the varsity lacrosse team all 4 years in the spring. I guess it was a matter of physique. Glenn was a big, strong guy. He lifted weights. I'm skinny. I've always been skinny. I couldn't compete with the bigger guys in soccer, but by golly, I could run. Coach found out in the winter that I was pretty good at jumping. That got me on the volleyball team, and of course lacrosse was my thing. I played center field. Yes, Glenn had girls, and somehow he got the glory. All I got was a lot of letters. Glenn specialized in partying all through high school, and he was a master at it. I wasn't as gifted. First, my mom and dad had 5 kids, so personal cars and trucks just weren't on the menu. Even though I didn't have many dates, I always borrowed my mom's rusted-out Cavalier if I needed a car. As soon as we graduated from high school, Glenn went to Pennsylvania. His parents had money. I stayed in high school and got a partial scholarship to the local state university. It didn't get me very far. I had to promise to teach in-state for 3 years, so I ended up becoming a public school teacher. Being a school teacher meant taking a vow of poverty. I don't know why, but I stayed with it. It's probably because I love kids. Glenn graduated from the University of Pennsylvania, went to law school, and ended up at a large law firm in the city. He says he's making tons of money now, 5, maybe 10 times as much as me. I look at my watch, 11:40. It's getting close. I'm going to find out one way or another whether or not I have a wife and family. This sucks. It really does suck. So Glenn left for Pennsylvania, and I stayed home. I've always had a thing for Ellie. That's Ellie Colleen Templeton, born Cochran. Ellie graduated from high school and went to community college where she took some classes in computer programming and software. I never really understood any of that. Computers are like my car to me. I know where the gas is, how to start it, and I have enough common sense to slow down if I hear something I don't like. Oh, sure, I've read all the car maintenance books and brochures. I know how the darn things work, but cars are like plumbing to me. Trying to fix it just makes it worse. I remember the first time we moved into our house. Ellie needed a dishwasher, a new sink, and countertops. I read up, bought the hardware, and decided to install it all myself. It shouldn't have been that hard, it's all spelled out. I gave it a try. I really wanted to. I just couldn't get the damn copper tubing to stop leaking. Ellie called Daddy, that's her daddy. He came and took care of it. I remember him clapping me on the shoulder and praising me for trying. Ellie made coffee. We all had a cup while she told me how proud she was of me for caring enough to worry. I felt stupid. I just couldn't do anything right, but in a way I felt good. I liked that praise. Glenn went to the state of Pennsylvania. He made a name for himself. He became president of his fraternity and a Nittany Lions fan. I made a name for myself too. After my freshman year, I was on the dean's list every semester. I made it and worked part-time all year too. Glenn came home every summer. He took his summer vacation and went to the beach where he surfed and slept with every chick he saw. I was trying to get a date with Ellie. It was the summer between our freshman and sophomore year. She and I had always been friends, sort of chatting and hanging out buddies since we were kids. Honestly, I've always loved her. I kissed her once when we were in middle school. I remember her blushing. I almost shit my pants. Imagine I had the nerve to kiss Ellie Cochran. It was like climbing Mount Everest. She blushed, then kissed me back. But then she made me promise not to tell Glenn, and I felt sad. I almost went and did something stupid. Just before she made me promise, I almost told her I loved her. What a fool I was. How about my big date with Ellie? She finally agreed to go out with me. Okay, I finally got up the courage to ask her out. She said yes. There was this really fancy seafood restaurant outside of town. It was called Sailor's Harvest. I thought I would take her to eat somewhere special and then we would go back into town to see a play. I really thought that might be cool. Remember when I said I wasn't very good with cars? I bought a used Hyundai. It was high mileage, but the seller said the motor ran like butter. He said it would probably go another 100,000. I bought it, and within 2 weeks it was fine. I took Ellie's hand. God, she looked amazing. She was wearing a pale blue mini dress, flesh-colored nylon stockings, and high-heeled shoes. Ellie is 5'6". My height is 5'11". Glenn's height is 6 feet 4 inches. The heels made her a little taller than me. I felt a little awkward, but then I always felt awkward around Ellie. Look, I could talk about a lot of things for a long time, but next to Ellie, I could never finish a sentence. I'd end up looking into those big green eyes and just freeze. She'd smile at me and I'd fade away. I walked to her door, talking to her mom and dad while Ellie got ready. I walked her to the car, helped her get in, and we drove off. I think about 2/3 of the way to the restaurant, my new used Hyundai expired. It just stopped. I popped the hood, climbed out, looked under it, and froze there. I had no idea what was wrong. Ellie climbed out and looked under it too. Ellie smiled at me. Broken. Ha! I had a reservation at a restaurant. I had 2 $60 tickets to the Cats, and lo and behold, my car died. I looked back at it. Yeah, I guess so. She reached into her purse, pulled out her cell phone, and called Daddy. He got there about a half hour later. He tied an old tire to the front of his car and pushed us back to their house. I sat in my car all alone and steered while he pushed. Ellie was riding in her daddy's car while he pushed. I felt like a piece of shit sandwiched between 2 slices of bread. We went back to Ellie's place and had a barbecue with her mom, dad, and little brother. Then we watched an old movie on TV. She told me later, as we watched Robert Redford kiss Jane Fonda, she had already seen a performance of Cats. Glenn had taken her to New York, where they saw it on Broadway. That was my big date with Allie. I looked at the clock again. 11:45. I wondered what I was doing. I guess I always knew that sooner or later Glenn would come and claim his prize. I just thought that maybe Ellie had put Glenn in her rearview mirror. I guess I just didn't realize it. I guess I should have known better. I remember when Allie and I got married. I remember talking her into agreeing to be my wife. After that first date that didn't work out, she agreed to try again. It was a little later in the summer and all the town carnivals had already started. God, I remember the year before that Ellie had won a beauty pageant in our town. It was in our senior year of high school. She was crowned queen of the town on the second night of the carnival. I remember it was raining. Glenn was supposed to be there, but he stayed on the beach for some reason. I was her chaperone. Oh, I know I only got the job by default. She really wanted Glenn. She never said it, but I knew. The guy knows these things. Like I said, it was raining. It wasn't just rain. It was a heavy downpour, and everything was soaking wet. Ellie had brought her normal clothes, but she had bought a special outfit for the parade and coronation, a very nice white mini dress. Well, the skies opened up. In a matter of minutes, Ellie was soaking wet. Her beautiful mini dress was made of this thin linen or cotton or something. She was soaking wet. Everyone could see right through her, and she was on this platform. I played dumb. I ran off the platform, grabbed an older man's raincoat. Older people always seemed to be prepared. I ran back and covered her as fast as I could. To my dismay, the wooden platform was painted with some kind of glossy enamel, and the rain made it slippery as hell. I threw my raincoat over Ellie and then fell right off the platform into the wet grass below. Shit. I don't know what was hurt more, my body or my pride. I just sat there on the wet grass and watched. I was too embarrassed to go back upstairs. Ellie sat on her throne and accepted the crown and scepter. She never looked at me, but there was a wide smile on her face. All I can say is how graceful and beautiful she looked, but I thought she was laughing at me too. When the rain stopped, we took a walk around the grounds. Her dress had dried and no one else could see through it. Sure enough, my brown Levi's jeans were all grass stains, and my short t-shirt was covered in mud. She looked like what she really was, an urban princess. I looked like what I really was, the town goofball. We went to and from where the games were held. We went to a place that sold beef and fries. I bought her a meat patty. I bought her a funnel cake and some ice cream. Later, I took her home. She thanked me and kissed me on the cheek. I guess it was kind of like a date. We went out some more after my car fiasco. Nothing much, just movies, a picnic, a trip to the park to swim, and some hot dogs. I thought that summer was special. Toward the end of that summer, Glenn showed up for about a week. He took Ellie out every night. To her, I ceased to exist. Glenn Eversham. I hate that son of a bitch. My watch read 11:50. Now it wouldn't take long. How did I get Ellie to agree to marry me? It's a miracle. I know everyone has heard of loner dogs. Dogs that become attached to one person and remain loyal to that person for their entire lives. I guess I'm a loner male in a way. Sure, I've dated other girls, but I always ended up comparing them to Ellie, and Ellie always won. I've heard that some men think of movie stars or porn stars. All my life, whenever I've taken myself, all I've thought about is Ellie. All men dream during the day. Men dream during the day. Most people have two kinds of waking dreams. They are either conquering hero or suffering hero. It didn't matter to me whether to win or suffer. The heroine was always the same. She was Ellie, and she was always perfect. How did I get her to agree to marry me? From the moment our first summer break ended until my senior year, Ellie and I dated from time to time. I never had a lot of money, so almost all of our dates involved things that were affordable. We did things like demolition derbies, tractor pulls, carnivals, apple festivals, minor league baseball games, the state fair, horse shows. Ellie has always been a big fan of horseback riding. I love riding too, but for her, it's more like a religion than just a casual pastime. Ellie has always had her own horse. I could never afford one. Glenn had a horse, though. Oh yeah, I took her to church every chance I got. Sure, it's a cheap date, but I gotta show her I have character. We're both Methodists. They say, and I believe them, that all Methodists like to do is sing and eat. I know one thing. Ellie has a beautiful voice. Now that we're married, she's in the church choir. She looks angelic when she puts on her choir robe. God, that can't happen to me. I asked Ellie to marry me. It was the fall of my senior year. Ellie had already graduated and was working for a local software company. She traveled around the county repairing broken computers. She started writing her own programs and even began inventing her own games. Don't ask me to explain any of this. I've already explained my position on technology. Glenn was in his senior year at the University of Pennsylvania. He was a constant thorn in my side throughout college. He would be gone most of the time, then come home, ask Ellie out, and she would go out with him. I felt perpetually second best. Glenn didn't come home for Thanksgiving alone. Her name was Marcia Ashcroft, and she was a rare dish. Long blonde hair, delightful-looking breasts, amazing ass, brown eyes. She was gorgeous. Glenn brought Marcia home to meet his parents and all his friends. He told everyone that this was the girl he was going to marry. They had already picked a date, right after his graduation. We all congratulated the happy couple. Ellie kissed Glenn and Marcia to congratulate them, and so did I. Well, I shook Glenn's hand. As soon as Glenn and Marcia were gone, I got to work. I finally believed that Glenn Eversham was gone. Now it was my time. Truth be told, there were other guys, but I was pretty sure that after Glenn, I was number one for Ellie. I went to the mall, bought a ring, and planned my pitch. I thought I would do it at her house. Her parents had a big modern house with a nice clubhouse basement. I thought I would take her downstairs where I would ask her a question. Her brother was in middle school, so I figured he wouldn't be home. It was a Friday night. I called Ellie over and talked her into going downstairs where we could play video games. It was always an easy sell, as she usually won. We went downstairs. His parents and brother were upstairs. We went back to the game room and sat on the couch. The big TV was right across from us. I got down on one knee and pulled out the ring box. I opened the tiny box and pulled out the ring. I said, "Ellie." She interrupted me. "Oh no, you didn't." I was a little stunned. I thought she was going to blow me off. I said, "Well, Ellie pulled me onto the couch and said, "Kiss me, dumbass." So I kissed her. While I was kissing her, she started unbuttoning my shirt. By the time we finished our first kiss, she had taken off my regular shirt and t-shirt. I put my hands on her hips. She had all her clothes on and started kissing me. After a few more kisses, she leaned back on the back of the couch and looked at me. She looked at me intently somehow and said, "Well?" I leaned forward and kissed them. I was in heaven. Just at that moment, her brother started down the stairs. He went down about 3 steps and Ellie yelled very loudly, "Vernon, come back upstairs!" Her brother's name was Vernon. Then I heard her father yell even louder, "Vernon, come back up here!" Ellie pulled me to her and unbuckled my belt and jeans. There we were sitting completely stripped, totally naked, on the couch in the playroom in her parents' basement, and her mom, dad, and brother were upstairs. I could hear their conversation perfectly clear as day. That night, I became a man. I was 21 years old and I had never had a woman. Yes, I was a virgin. It was the most amazingly wonderful night of my life, and I thought it was for her, too. We walked slowly. We kissed and snuggled and hugged each other. We gently explored each other's bodies, first with our hands and then with our lips. I knew she wasn't a virgin. I had heard Glenn's story, but that night she was able to fool me. I think she was more scared than I was. In books and stories, they call it sex. I wish I could call it something else. It was love. Real, true, genuine, absolute love. Ellie whispered in my ear, "I want you to make me a woman." I thought, has she read my mind? We were lying there. By then we were side by side. We just lay there, holding each other. I kept kissing her face and her head. She kept running her hands up and down my body. After a little more time, we sat up. Ellie looked at me with an incredibly serious expression on her face and then said, "Let me see the ring." I found my pants, pulled the ring out of the box, and held it out to her. She held out her left hand. I think it was her left hand. She said, "Put this on." I did. The diamond looked small, a little over a 1/4 carat, but I thought it sort of shimmered and glowed in the soft light of the table lamp. She turned her hand this way and that. She looked at me. "It means no more. There is no one else for you and for me." I didn't understand what she meant. "What?" I asked. She threw a serious, expressive look at me. "From now on, you and me, just us, no one else." Damn it, I thought. There's never been anyone else, at least not for me. I said to her, God, Ellie, you're all there ever was." She smiled. "I know. For me, too." I didn't realize at the time what she meant by "for her, too." I'm still not sure. A few minutes later, we got dressed and went upstairs to visit her mom and dad. Ellie showed them the ring. They didn't look particularly happy. I'd say they looked more relieved than happy. Once upon a time, I thought I knew why, but now I'm not so sure anymore. That's how it all started. Ellie and I were official. We were a couple. We told all of our friends. Everyone admired her ring. Everyone was happy for us, even Glenn. It all happened in November. We were young, in love, and oblivious to the possible complications. She had a good job. She could even do most of her work from home. I was well on my way. I majored in math and education. The math teachers were top-notch. With my grades and my athletic background, getting a teaching job in the district was an easy decision. We planned a wedding in June, but discovered one small complication. If two people who love each other have sex regularly without taking precautions, what can happen is inevitable. Around mid-January, we realized we had a small complication that was about 7 months away. We moved our wedding date to March. Our first small complication occurred in July. We named her Jenny. The same week Jenny was born, I got a job teaching math at a middle school in the county. I was also invited to help out at the middle school with the girls' soccer team. My watch was showing 11:55. Pretty soon my world, all my dreams, all my fantasies of a happy future could come crashing down. My Ellie would show up and meet Mr. Big Shot Glenn Eversham. I read all of her emails. I knew what was going to happen. Oh, those emails, those fucking emails! Why did she leave her email open? Why didn't she lock it? She had passwords and secret accounts. I know next to nothing about these things. It wasn't supposed to happen. I mean, I didn't need to know. Did she intentionally leave them open? Did she want me to know? Was she really that unhappy with me? Had I been such a bad husband? God knows I tried. We had no money, but I tried to make up for it. I gave her my full attention. I told her every day how much I loved her. I tried to give her everything money couldn't buy. Was it sex? I don't think I'm a bad lover, but I really have nothing to compare it to. Ellie is the only girl I've ever been with. I'm serious. Ellie is the only girl for me. I've never tried to hurt her or do anything that I considered humiliating. I've always tried to be gentle, firm, but gentle. I saw the movie with Meg and Ryan and saw how a woman can fake a finish. I think with Ellie, I know when I can get her hot. I always tried my best to make sure she got her arousal. There were times when she didn't want sex. When there was a lot of worrying with Jenny and Craig, her back hurt a lot. I would massage her back. I would massage her whole back. I loved touching her. She's everything I've ever wanted. Oh God, please don't let this happen. Have I been a bad daddy? Jenny's 3 years old and Craig's a toddler. Oh yeah, I probably yell sometimes, but all men yell at least once in a while. I pay attention to my kids. I read Jenny stories. I take her horseback riding. I try to do all the things my parents did for me. I try to be a good daddy. I want to be like me and like Ellie's dad. I do a lot of work around the house. I help make dinner. I do the dishes. I clean the lawn. I help with the flowers. I turn on the vacuum cleaner. I do everything she asks. I do it because I want her to be happy. When Ellie's not feeling well, I always try to be there for her. I don't run off to the tavern or anything like that. I kiss her every chance I get. I like to hold her in my arms when we're in bed. I first noticed her special Glenn account about 2 months ago. I didn't suspect anything. Just curious, I guess. I opened it. Now I regret doing it. Glenn, the bastard. Eversham asked if he could see her. He said he missed her. He was lonely and unhappy in his marriage and needed someone to talk to. Damn, I thought. What's that snake in the grass? Then I read Ellie's response. First, she told him to back off. She didn't swear, she just said she was married, busy, and thought that if he was unhappy, maybe he should talk to Marcia, and if not his wife, then maybe a counselor. He kept emailing her. He kept whining and begging. He said he needed someone. He said she was the only one who really understood him. She resisted. This went on, but then Ellie changed. Allie started talking about how she remembered when they were in middle school and how much fun they had before he got engaged to Marcia. She started reminiscing about the things they did without me. In short, she started to break my heart. Oh, crap. Glenn's here. He's at the door of the motel room. I squinted in my car so he couldn't see me. Shit. What am I worried about? I'm across the street in the parking lot. I watched him. He kept looking around. I watched him walk into room 145. He opened the door again. Wait! He pulled out his cell phone. He dialed a number and started talking to someone. I bet it's Ellie. I bet he's telling her he's there. Oh, shit! My life is turning to shit right in front of my eyes. Oh, please, Ellie, don't show up. Jesus, what the fuck am I so worried about? I read her emails. I know how eager she is for this. She's already committed betrayal. If not in deed, then at least in her heart. If she doesn't break her vows today, she'll do it another time. It's heartbreaking. To read it on some screen is horrifying, but to see it live, in the flesh, up close and personal, well, that's another thing entirely. Shit, it's 12 o'clock noon, any second now. Look, I have 2 kids and a third on the way. Yes, Jenny was born in July 3 years and 2 months ago. Craig came along last October, and lately Allie said she's missed 2 periods. That's 3 kids? 3 kids with a lying, cheating bitch. No, I can't say that. Ellie would never, but there he is. He's over there. All because of those letters, those damn letters. I wish I'd never read them. I'll give her credit. First she fought him off, then she got interested, and then she started talking about his wife, Marcia. Ellie kept hitting on him about his wife. She said things, neat things like, "What about your wife? Why do you want to do this to her? Wouldn't it be better to talk to your wife? Marcia loves you. I know you have to talk to her. Glenn, you've got to say something to your wife." He always had an answer. He said she didn't understand him. He said he never loved her the way he loved Allie. He said he thought Marcia was cheating on him. I have to give Ellie credit. She fought for Marcia. She couldn't have done it any better, even if it was Marcia herself, and in the end it didn't matter. Last week Ellie gave in. She agreed to meet with him, and here we are where we are. My marriage, my life, and very likely Glenn and Marcia's marriage will soon be over. Look, I haven't been slacking. I've talked to my father about this. He agrees with me. He believes, as I do, that when a man and a woman agree to get married, they give themselves to each other. My heart, my soul, the treasure of my life is no longer mine. It belongs to Ellie. Ellie must understand I don't want to enslave her, but she has made the same commitment to me. What she said, "There is no one else. There is no one else." Her heart, soul, and body belong to me, just as mine belongs to her. She cannot give my honey of honor. She cannot make a fool of me, a cuckold. I won't stand for it. I will pay her alimony and child support for the rest of my life. I will live in poverty, but I will not be betrayed. I look at the clock. It's 12:15. Glenn has been to the door 3 times. Allie is running late. I wonder. I think he wonders too. I pray maybe she won't show up. If she doesn't show up, I'll deal with her. I'll ask her about the emails. I'll try to make her see, make her understand. We can get counseling. God, I love her so much. I'd rather die than live without her. It's like I thought before, I'm a one-woman man. I can't live without her. Being without her is like dying. Oh, please, Ellie, stay home. Don't show your face. But what if she does show up? I know the answer to that question. If she shows up, it's over. I won't accept it. I'll move out. We'll get a divorce. I'm not going to live like some weak, will-less loser. That's just not how I'm built. Oh, please, Ellie, don't come. God, it's 12:20. It's killing me. I gotta figure this out. I have to make a phone call. I grab my cell phone and dial Ellie's number. It barely rings once. It's Ellie, she says. Yeah, oh, it's you, Wyatt. Ellie, what are you doing? Where are you? Wyatt, what do you mean? You know where I am. I'm home. Jenny's in her nursery in the living room. Craig's upstairs asleep. I'm ironing one of your shirts. Then there's a pause. She asks, "Where are you? Aren't you supposed to be in class right now?" I answer as firmly as I can. "No, Ellie, I'm in my car. I'm parked in the parking lot across from the Piccolo Motel. I watch Glenn Eversham walk in and out of room 145 as if he's looking for someone. Tell me, Allie, are you sure you're home?" "I'm listening." There is silence on the other end of the wire for a moment. "Hell yeah, I got her." "Wyatt, I'm asking that you hang up your phone. I want you to wait there. You know I love you. You know, of course, that I would never do anything to hurt you or jeopardize our life together. Trust me. Just wait. Call me and tell me as soon as you see anything. Now hang up the damn phone." I did as I was told. I hung up the phone. Good, I thought. I'll give her all the rope she needs. The second hand on my watch kept moving. It was 12:30. Something had happened at Piccolo's. What could it be now? I watched as two people came to the door to room 145. One of them was Marcia Eversham. I didn't recognize the other person, but he was a man. He had something under his arm. He started banging on the door. Holy shit! Glenn opened the door. The man just handed him some kind of large envelope. He said something. I wondered what it could be. Marcia stood behind the man. The man started to walk away. Marcia went as well. Glenn ran after his wife. Jesus, what the hell just happened? I decided to call Allie back. I dialed Ellie's number again. She answered right away and asked me, "What did you see?" Allie. I saw some guy give Glenn a stack of papers. Marcia was there. I saw Glenn chasing his wife across the parking lot. What do you think you saw? I hesitated for a second. I think I realized what it was. Allie, you tell me. Wyatt, what you saw was the end of a very unhappy marriage. I was confused. What do you mean? You can go home now. So, come home, honey. I'll tell you everything when you get there. Wyatt took the whole day off, so he went straight home. Ellie was waiting for him there when he walked in the door. He got home just in time to see Ellie's mom loading his young children into her van. They waved to each other. Wyatt walked in. You want to tell me what happened today? Ellie took Wyatt's hand and led him to their couch. It was actually an old couch from her parents' basement, the same couch where she had given away her greatest treasure, the same treasure she had given him just a few years ago. Sit down, sweetheart. Wyatt sat down on the couch. Ellie knelt on the floor at his feet and started. I'm sorry, my darling. You weren't supposed to see those letters. I suppose that's where it all came from. He replied, Yes, I didn't mean to, but I read. She squeezed his knee. Let me explain. A few weeks ago, I started getting letters from Glenn. He wanted to see me. It's not hard to guess what he wanted. Wyatt nodded. I tried to get him to stop, but he kept emailing me, so I had an idea. I called his wife Marcia. They had been in a fight for quite some time. Glenn wasn't a very good husband. Ellie squeezed Wyatt's knee again. He's not like you, honey. Wyatt leaned a little closer to his wife. She gently pushed him away. Marcia wants kids. Glenn doesn't. Marcia needs a man she can depend on, not a catwalker. She and I have devised a plan. What you read is actually a double account. For the last couple weeks, Marcia and I have been getting his emails at the same time, but it was Marcia who answered, not me. Wyatt leaned forward again. So, let me finish this, honey. Marcia and I set it up. Oh, Marcia doesn't want to ruin him. Why would she do that? His income is her security, but she does want to leave. She wants to find someone she can trust and love. We've talked about this before. She wants someone like you. What you saw today was Marcia's exit visa. I'm sorry I never thought to tell you. It just never occurred to me that you would think it was so important. That you might even think, oh, my darling, you and I, we're a team. God, I'm already diligently making our third child. Wyatt was angry and upset. He was embarrassed and torn inside. Ellie, my whole life I've felt like I was number 2 when it came to you. All those years in high school and then college, it seemed like Glenn was first in your heart. I was always second fiddle. I was so scared. I thought I had finally lost you to him. Ellie stood up and began unbuttoning her husband's shirt. Wyatt, you silly, wonderful man. Remember when we were in high school? Wyatt, brushing away a tear, nodded. You remember all those stupid soccer games, those stupid lacrosse games? Wyatt, I hate soccer, I hate lacrosse. Lacrosse is boring, but soccer is totally boring. Do you really think I was there for every game for 4 years because I loved it? I was there to see you. I remember when you looked up and saw me. Wasn't I always looking at you? Wyatt blinked back another tear and nodded. Yes, I guess so. Ellie continued. I remember our first real date. You set everything up so perfectly, a nice restaurant, tickets to see the cats. Everything seemed right, and then your car stalled. I felt so sorry for you. I just wanted to hold you in my arms. You looked so helpless. My dad was proud of you because you let him help you. He knew then what I was feeling. And I thought, Ellie stroked her husband's cheek. You thought wrong, Wyatt. I've always loved you. You were always first in my heart. Remember all the carnivals? Remember when I was elected queen of our town? You were so heroic, but so clumsy. You gave me a cape, but then you fell right off the platform. You were marvelous. Stupid, maybe, but great. Every girl in town wanted to be with you, but I had you. They didn't have you. But what about you and Glenn on prom night? Allie took off both of his shirts and unbuttoned his pants. Did you believe that, braggart? You know perfectly well when I gave up my cherry. You were there the night it happened. Goddamn, Wyatt, it was on this very couch. Wyatt, it was always you. Just you. No one else. Wyatt moved over to make it easier for her to get his pants off. Your parents. That night. What was the occasion? Wyatt, do you remember the night you gave me that ring? She raised her left hand. He nodded. Do you remember the expressions on my parents' faces? Wyatt. Yes, I remember. Wyatt, they were happy. It was happiness and relief you saw. We've all been waiting for you for 3 years. Ever since you went to college, Mom, Dad, and I talked about it. For a while, it seemed like I was going to have to ask you myself. But you finally did yourself. So, then, when your brother started coming downstairs, honey, they knew. My brother didn't know, but they stopped him quick. Wyatt, I love you. I've always loved you. I loved you in elementary school, in middle school, all through high school, then when you went to college, but damn it, Wyatt, you were so retarded. So what's going to happen now? Ellie leaned back slightly. After I finish this, we'll go upstairs. We make love. Then we get up, get dressed, and go to my mom and dad's house. We eat some chili. Why, then, after that, then we live happily ever after. That's what happened.